Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 1001 Nights. Um, welcome. And tonight or this afternoon, we're going to talk about um, um, what Shahrazad is going to tell the King Shahrayar after her sister had asked her um, about another new story, and then dawn cracked open, and so she had to stop. But Shahrazad did mention the story of the fisherman and how strange of a story it was. So the king, uh, wanting to know how strange it is, just said, "You'll come back tomorrow and tell me that story." And tomorrow is today, and this is our third night to hear the story of the fisherman. There was a certain fisherman, advanced in age, who had a wife and three children. And though he was in indigent circumstances, it was his custom to cast his net every day, no more than 4 times. One day he went forth at the hour of noon to the shore of the sea, and put down his basket, and cast his net, and waited until it was motionless in the water, when he drew together its strings, and found it to be heavy. He pulled and pulled, but could not draw it up. So he took the end of the cord, and knocked a stake into the shore, and tied the cord to it. He then stripped himself, and dived round the net, and continued to pull until he drew it out, whereupon he rejoiced, and put on his clothes. But when he came to examine the net, he found in it the carcass of a donkey. At the sight of this, he mourned, and exclaimed, "There is no strength nor power but in God the High, the Great. This is a strange piece of fortune." And he repeated the following verse: "O thou who occupiest thyself in the darkness of night and in peril, spare thy trouble, for the support of providence is not obtained by toil." He then disencumbered his net of the dead donkey, and wrung it out, after which he spread it, and descended into the sea, and, exclaiming, "In the name of God," cast it again, and waited till it had sunk and was still, when he pulled it and found it more heavy and more difficult to raise than on the former occasion. He therefore concluded that it was full of fish. So he tied it, and stripped, and plunged, and dived, and pulled until he raised it, and drew it upon the shore, when he found in it only a large jar full of sand and mud. On seeing which, he was troubled in his heart, and repeated the following words of the poet: "O angry fate, forbear, or, if thou wilt not forbear, relent. Neither favor from fortune do I gain, nor profit from the work of my hands. I came forth to seek my sustenance, but have found it to be exhausted. How many of the ignorant are in splendor, and how many of the wise in obscurity." So saying, he threw aside the jar, and wrung out and cleansed his net, and, begging the forgiveness of God for his impatience, returned to the sea the third time, and threw the net, and waited till it had sunk and was motionless. He then drew it out, and found in it a quantity of broken jars and pots. Upon this, he raised his head toward heaven and said, O God, thou knowest that I cast not my net more than 4 times, and I have now cast it 3 times. Then exclaiming, in the name of God, he cast the net again into the sea and waited till it was still. When he attempted to draw it up, but could not, for it clung to the bottom, and he exclaimed, there is no strength nor power but in God, and stripped himself again, and dived around the net, and pulled it until he raised it upon the shore. When he opened it and found in it a bottle of brass filled with something, and having its mouth closed with a stopper of lead, bearing the impression of the seal of our Lord Sulaiman. At the sight of this, the fisherman was rejoiced and said, this I will sell in the copper market, for it is worth 10 pieces of gold. He then shook it and found it to be heavy and said, I must open it and see what's in it and store it in my bag. And then I will sell the bottle in the copper market. So he took out a knife and picked at the lead until he extracted it from the bottle. He then laid the bottle on the ground and shook it, that its contents might pour out, but there came forth from it nothing but smoke, which ascended towards the sky and spread over the face of the earth, at which he wondered excessively. And after a little while, the smoke collected together and was condensed, and then became agitated, and was converted into a genie whose head was in the clouds, while his feet rested upon the ground. His head was like a dome. His hands were like winnowing forks, and his legs like masts. His mouth resembled a cavern. His teeth were like stones, his nostrils like trumpets, and his eyes like lamps. And he had disheveled and dust-colored hair. When the fisherman beheld this genie, the muscles of his sides quivered. His teeth were locked together, his spittle dried up, and he saw not his way. The genie, as soon as he perceived him, exclaimed, there is no deity but God. Sulaiman is the prophet of God. O prophet of God, slay me not, for I will never again oppose thee in word or rebel against thee in deed. O genie, said the fisherman, dost thou say Sulaiman is the prophet of God? Sulaiman has been dead 1,800 years, and we are now in the end of time. What is thy story? What is thy tale? And what was the cause of thy entering this bottle? When the genie heard these words of the fisherman, he said, there is no deity but God. Receive news, O fisherman. Of what, said the fisherman, dost thou give me news? He answered, of thy being instantly put to a most cruel death. The fisherman exclaimed, thou deservest for this news, O master of the genies, the withdrawal of protection from thee, O thou remote. O master of the genies, what are you saying? Wherefore wouldst thou kill me? And what requires thy killing me when I have liberated you from the bottle and rescued thee from the bottom of the sea and brought thee up upon the dry land? The genie answered, choose what kind of death thou wilt die, and in what manner thou shalt be killed. What is my offense, said the fisherman, that this should be my recompense from thee? The genie replied, Hear my story, O fisherman. Tell it then, said the fisherman, and be short in thy words, for my soul has sunk down to my feet. Know then, said he, that I am one of the heretical genies. I rebelled against Sulaiman, the son of Dawood, I and Sakhr the genie, and he sent me to his vizier, Asaf the son of Barkiya, who came upon me forcibly and took me to him in bonds and placed me before him. And when Sulaiman saw me and took me to him, and he offered me up a prayer for protection against me, and exhorted me to embrace the faith and to submit to his authority. But I refused, upon which he called for his bottle and confined me in it and closed it upon me with leaden stopper, which he stamped with the most great name. He then gave orders to the genies who carried me away and threw me into the midst of the sea. There I remained 100 years, and I said in my heart, Whosoever shall liberate me, I will enrich him forever. But the 100 years passed over me, and no one liberated me. And I entered upon another 100 years. And I said, Whoever shall liberate me, I will open to him the treasures of the earth. But no one did so. And for 400 years more passed me. And I said, Whoever shall liberate me, I will perform for him 3 wishes. But still no one liberated me. I then fell into a violent rage and said within myself, Whosoever shall liberate me now, I will kill him, and only suffer him to choose in what manner he will die. And lo and behold, now thou hast liberated me, and I have given thee thy choice of the manner in which thou wilt die. When the fisherman had heard the story of the genie, he exclaimed, O Allah, that I should not have liberated thee but in such a time as this. Then he said to the Ifrit, Pardon me, and kill me not, and so may God pardon thee. And destroy me not, lest God give power over thee to one who will destroy thee. The genie answered, I must positively kill you. Therefore choose by what manner of death thou wilt die. The fisherman then felt assured of his death, but he again implored the genie, saying, Pardon me by way of gratitude for liberating thee. Why, answered the Ifrit, I am not going to kill thee, but for that very reason, because thou hast liberated me. O Shaykh of the genies, said the fisherman, do I act kindly towards thee, and dost thou recompense me with badness, baseness? But the proverb lieth not that said, We did good to them, and they returned us the contrary, and such, by my life, is the conduct of the wicked. Thus he who acteth kindly to the undeserving is recompensed in the same manner as the aider of Amir. The Ifrit, the genie, when he heard these words, answered by saying, Covet not life, for thy death is inevitable. Then said the fisherman within himself, This is a genie, and I am a man, and God hath given me sound reason. Therefore, I will now plot his destruction with my art and reason, like as he hath plotted with his cunning and perfidy. So he said to the genie, "Hast thou determined to kill me?" He answered, "Yes." Then said the fisherman, "By the most great name engraved upon the seal of Sulaiman, I will ask thee one question, and wilt thou answer it to me truly?" On hearing the mention of the most great name, the genie was agitated and trembled and replied, "Yes, ask and be brief." The fisherman then said, "How wast thou in this bottle? I will not contain thy hand or thy foot. How then can it contain thy whole body?" "Dost thou not believe that I was in it?" said the genie. The fisherman answered, "I will never believe thee until I see thee in it." Upon this, the genie shook and became converted again into smoke. Into smoke that swiveled into the air. Here Shahrazad perceived the light of the morning, and discontinued the recitation with which she had been allowed thus far to proceed. Her sister said to her, "How excellent is thy story! How pretty! How pleasant and how sweet!" But she answered, "What is this in comparison with that which I will relate to thee in the next night, if I live and the king spares me?" And the king said, "By Allah, I will not kill her until I hear the remainder of her story." Thus they pleasantly passed the night until the morning, when the king went forth to his hall of judgment, and the vizier went thither with the grave cloth under his arm. And the king gave judgment, and invested and displaced until the close of the day, without informing the vizier of that which had happened. And the minister was greatly astonished. The court was then dissolved, and the king returned to the privacy of his palace. And so, my friend, Shahrazad lives another night, and the king can't wait to return and be with her so that he can hear the end of the story of the fisherman, to know what the genie has done by becoming a smoke, and how the fisherman will live or not live, what will happen, and what is Shahrazad gonna say or do after that story is done. So keep in tune with us every day, and stay safe, stay healthy, stay home, stay patient, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.